I both pulled the same clip on this. Will you roll it, Nat?
I know. Is that the plan here? Just mass surveillance on everybody? Recently, I was just in China, and some of what I saw was pretty good. Some not so good.
Crazy, you guys.
Wow.
Yeah. Every single post.
Pretty dystopian.
Look at that.
Okay, this is where we're headed, except without the nice trains and without the free healthcare. We're talking about the creation of a biometric surveillance state with predictive algorithms. Quote, a new report shines light on contracts with tech company Palantir, which would create data profiles of Americans to surveil and harass them.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right, our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Except here, the enemy is literally the American people. I tweeted this out the other day saying that it should be very alarming that the same company that's tracking terrorists abroad is now tracking us at home. Starting to feel like maybe they think we're the enemy. What are your thoughts?
Amy, take it away.
Yeah, I mean, so last week when we were talking about Real ID, the amount of people who jumped on me and were like, girl, you're taking this way too far. Do you really think they're going to try to implement some type of crazy surveillance state?
Yes.
And when I was talking about it,
Wow.
I actually, if you will all remember, I phrased it as something that would occur probably far off into the future, but it is setting up the infrastructure. Because in order to enact something like what China has with with a social credit score, first, your identity needs to be digitized for them to do that. This was laying the foundation for that. I did not anticipate that less than a week later, we would be on here talking about how this could actually happen right the frick now. So there's a couple of different components with it. Palantir is essentially building a database of all Americans. And a really creepy component about it is this predictive crime element that they have, where they essentially extrapolate all this data from, your banking institutions, your social media, online, everywhere, and they then determine, okay, what is the probability that this person is going to commit a crime?
Is that how this whole surveillance thing actually works? That's what they're doing?
That's what they're planning to do.
And
it's very Minority Report.
Exactly like that movie.
And the whole predictive crime thing bothers me because they're just making a prediction on what an individual might do based on the data they're gathering. But I mean, obviously there are going to be flaws in the data, and I have a problem with doing these things that incriminate people who haven't even committed a crime yet.
How could our enemies leverage that against us, right? But here's where things get a little bit creepy. So a lot of people don't know this, but J.D. Vance was actually mentored by a man called Peter Thiel, who is the CEO. He's the founder founder of Palantir. He actually, I believe, was lecturing when Musk was at Yale. The two hit it off. He then went on to actually fund J.D. Vance. He brought him into his venture capital firm, convinced him to become a partner versus going out there to be a lawyer, which is the degree he graduated with. He essentially created J.D. Vance. So for me, it is a little bit suspicious that now all of a sudden, this is a deal that we now have with this administration, with Trump and J.D. Vance. Plus, if you want to get even more conspiratorial, you guys saw that tweet yesterday calling for Trump to be impeached and for J.D. to replace him. And Elon responded to that and said, yes. You want to know what else? Elon has strong vested interest in Palantir as well. He now has a deal with them with his XAI, and several people who were on the Dodge board were a part of Palantir as well. So, I mean, my conspiracy brain goes all the way.
It's not a conspiracy if it's true. This is literally happening right now. They call themselves the PayPal Mafia. It's Elon Musk, it's Peter Thiel, and a bunch of these Silicon Valley tech oligarchs. And Peter Thiel has been funding J.D. Vance all the way through. He was a primary funder of his Senate campaign. You're absolutely right that he catapulted J.D. Vance to national, fame, basically. And another thing is, you know who is Palantir's biggest foreign client? Anna, you're gonna love this. It's Israel.
Yeah, the IDF uses it, right?
Exactly, and it's been one of the biggest players
When
in
I
the Gaza
saw
conflict.
that video, I actually wasn't very disturbed by it because our cities already look like that. Maybe not as much. Like there's less of the 5G towers and the weird frequency totem poles that we don't really know what they do unless you really look into it. And that's why I hate the term conspiracy theory, because that's what this world is. It's people conspiring towards certain goals, and to make it seem as though it's irrational.
Yes.
Oh, people lie. The government lies to me. That must be crazy.
But
No,
how
it's
many
not.
conspiracies have proven to be true in the last couple of years?
Pretty
Let
much
me
every
start.
single
Like
one.
Hunter Biden's laptop conspiracy turned out to be true. Biden's cognitive decline turned out to be true. Like all of these things turned out to be true. The auto pen, these things are materializing and turning out to be true.
Just
So
what
do
I
not
read too
know-
early, honestly, in my opinion. It's just.
Well, go, Anna.
I just
go.
want to know
Yeah.
if we're going to rely on a single corporation to surveil Americans in order to prevent bad actors from committing crimes or harming others. What's the point of like literally we have like dozens of different intelligence agencies in this country. What's the point of the FBI if they're unable to effectively do their jobs?
Well, we're the enemy of the FBI and the three-letter agencies. I mean, the word enemy they kept using, I mean, he was absolutely right. If it affects us, we're the ones that have the fallout from 9/11. We're the ones getting sexually assaulted every time we go through an airport because someone flew a plane into a building, when I was like 5 years old. So at the end of the day, we are the enemy of the three-letter agencies, and that's what it really is about.
I want to give you guys something to push back on here just for the sake of playing devil's advocate, and I have done no homework on this. So just to give you something to chew on for the audience, I would imagine people are thinking, listen, this isn't a black box operation, right? You're opting in through terms of service agreements with private companies. So the thing where it's like scroll, check, accept, this is in there. Now, I don't know what the alternative is if you want to use different apps and different programs on your computer and your phone. However, like it's out there in plain daylight, we don't need to tell you about it. So there would be that argument. The second argument is counterterrorism. All we do right now on conservative shows is hear about like they're here. And it's not a matter of if, it's when. And they all crossed Biden's border. And I'm not saying that isn't true. Likely, probably, sure. All these people got away and this, that, the other. So if we're worried about that, then you're going to make the argument for having a counterterrorism organization or some sort of tech in place. And then the other thing that I read about this is it's metadata. So supposedly, okay, so that's baloney.
I mean,
All
it's
right.
the same BS argument that Americans were fed when it was revealed under the Obama administration. The NSA, National Security Agency, was spying in and collecting metadata on literally every single American indiscriminately. That was a big scandal. That's what Edward Snowden was a whistleblower for.
Okay.
And I would just caution people who allow the government to fearmonger effectively and convince them that it makes sense to give away their civil liberties and their civil rights. We have certain freedoms in this country, and those freedoms did not come easy. We need to make a decision. Do we protect those freedoms, or do we let them fall by the wayside because we allowed the government to scare us?
And the counterterrorism argument is, like you said, the same one every time. How many times do we have some atrocity take place and we find out they've been on a watch list from the FBI or the CIA
good point,
for
Blair.
10 years?
Right. Very good
so
point.
who exactly are they protecting when they enact these things? And to me, it's clear that we've lived in a police state for a really long time. And so it's this, I agree with you about the real ID. People, I think, it's strange. The right is in a weird place. I feel like they're permitting a lot of things that they wouldn't if it was coming from the other side.
Because illegal immigration, that's what they're saying. This is the only thing that's going to help Trump implement the SAVE Act, the one that prevents fraud in voting and essentially mandates, American citizens are the only ones who vote. So Republicans are saying that this is going to be the mechanism to ensure that Trump's able to carry that out.
But Republicans aren't going to be in power forever. What if Democrats
Oh,
come
I'm completely against it. I
I
completely disagree. I think that it is a Trojan horse. It is 100% a globalist Trojan horse to usher in some terrible things. To your point, it's kind of already happening. But with the Real ID, the other component, if you guys remember last week, I said they're now mandating these high-resolution images, and the distance between your eyes, your nose, your lips, and mouth are as unique to you as your thumbprint. With that level of cameras and all of this in place now with these high-resolution images and the Real ID, literal quick scan of your face, they know exactly who you are.
They're collecting biometric data. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and do not tell me that this is just a thought experiment, because people are literally getting arrested and quarantined in places like China based on these, surveillance systems. They're seeing if you got vaccinated. They're seeing if you, complied with some random government regulation. They're seeing if you dissented or disagreed with the CCP. They will arrest you and disappear you. The Chinese government loves disappearing anyone who voices even the slightest bit of opposition. And do not tell me that they cannot come here. It came to Canada when they arrested the truckers and debanked the truckers, debanked Republicans who supported Trump. This is happening right now, okay? So this is not a conspiracy theory. It's a slippery slope argument that is happening. It's materializing before our eyes.
And to your point as well, Jillian, is like it always starts optional. It always starts in the private sector. And then that's how they build the case study and create the infrastructure. Exactly, 100%. Like this is their playbook that they use.
Well, speaking of vaccines, the last administration, the Biden administration, also had contracts with Palantir. You want to know what for?
I was about to ask you this.
To roll out the COVID vaccines.
Son of a bitch, really?
Wow.
But I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure it's fine.
Yes.
So was that linked in with the vaccine passport then?
But wait, what? I was just about to say, in what role?
They played a role. They had a federal government contract under the Biden administration to roll out the COVID
vaccine passport.
I wouldn't be
say.
surprised.
Oh, hold on. There was a thing online where if you got vaccinated, you didn't have to have your little card. You could like click into the website. Was that them?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that's the exact type of public-private partnership that typically happens with these government grants and contracts. Yeah.
And that's so interesting that you mention it, because before every White House event, there was some sort of digital system, and now I'm thinking maybe it was Palantir, where you had to put in your vitals, you had to put in your social security number, and whether you were vaccinated. We had to fill that out in order to step foot on the White House. Now I'm thinking maybe that was it. They didn't tell us what was behind it. It wasn't the White House. It was a third-party platform.
And if you want to get really crazy, you'll like this. I had multiple people tell me that were involved in the military at certain high levels during COVID that the entire mask thing, part of the benefit for, the spying on Americans aspect was they were doing a lot of technology to measure the eyes and really be able to identify people's
out of
eyes.
here. Is there any proof behind that, Blair? Or just like conjecture?
That's fair to say. You can take it or leave it, but to pretend as if it doesn't make sense and connect what we're talking about, I mean, it does.
That's
it makes mention of the
it's
facial
on our
features.
iPhone. It's on our iPhone right now. The iPhone has
See,
an
how is it
option about the
far-fetched?
mask thing.
This is why I hate the conspiracy word, because it's like they're doing
It's
it all the
happening
time
right
like
now.
this.
I literally got chills. I would caution. The one thing I want to caution is that we all have reason to not trust. We have seen all of these things unfold. You guys are 100% right. But I will say that there are certain things, don't just blindly go down these rabbit holes. Because I've made that mistake before, having been caught up in this. And you can go too far and lose track of reality. Make sure to listen, fact check everything we tell you. Do your own homework on this stuff. New stuff comes out every single day. And I'll give you one example. I don't think the 2020 election was stolen. With that said, I did watch Mike Pence, who I think that's fair. That's fair. I've yet to see compelling.
Define stolen, because there's actually cheating and then there's influencing.
I get
every
that.
election. You have to beat the cheating to win the election.
I get that, but my point is that I think Mike Pence is brilliant. Okay, he's an incredibly intelligent guy. His wealth of knowledge is extensive, and I remember watching him live tweeting about all the ways in which they were going to rig the election for Trump. And I was like, oh my God, they're rigging the election for Trump. I was at a party here in Florida where everybody was putting their phone in those black secret bags so it couldn't track us talking about, and none of that happened. And I was like, all right, Jill, you've officially lost the plot. Time to come back into the fold.
Better safe than sorry, though.
I would caution people, do your own homework, don't go totally off the rails, but this is absolutely terrifying. You guys are right. But what do you do about it then?
But it really is an indictment on how sick our government is that we even have to fear, should I believe certain things or should I not believe certain things? There should be transparency. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to it, but it goes right in line with the entire, Elon versus Trump thing that we're just sitting here not knowing if Trump is really on the Epstein list. Elon says so. We don't really know. And it's all the lying that causes us to lose our minds. So.
And man, it makes me sick because since I first got into politics when I was really young, 18, started looking into it, started to understand about lobbyists and the deep state and all these things, it black-pilled me so much. I was I need to get away from my own mental sanity. But coming back into it and then seeing this administration, and I was really betting on Trump, betting on RFK, betting on this collective that came together to be like the Avengers, to actually take it down. And now I'm feeling blackpilled like that was all just
like it was a movie.
It was a part of the plan.
You said Avengers, it was a movie, and this is the importance of God, and this is why we're not supposed to idolize politicians. And
oh my
people,
gosh, are we talking about faith?
We can talk about God. I love
Let's
talking
talk about
about God. But this is why you need it. It's a very good point because you end up putting your faith in human beings, and they're going to let you down every time.
Always, every single time.
You know, if I could say one thing about Trump, and then subsequently the promises with regard to Maha, because that again, like what I know best regarding this administration, Trump loves shiny things, and I mean, remember like mRNA tech is the devil, and then it's like Operation Stargate or whatever the heck it is to unroll like a whole slew of mRNA vaccines, and then it's like open AI for everybody, and he constantly loves tech, he loves business.
TikTok's another example. He wants to ban TikTok.
Yes.
Then one of his major donors is heavily invested in TikTok, and suddenly he's like, I love TikTok.
Yep. I mean, so
Bitcoin.
He's very like flip-flop, shiny keys, easily distracted over here, over there. That's been my experience with him. And with Kennedy and the Avengers, there is no universe where he's going to get a fraction of the things we had hoped for done. And it is simply because big ag, big food, big pharma, big insurance, they are too powerful, guys. It's just, we even saw Senator Cassidy clipped his wings in order to get the vote for his nomination. So my only upside on that one is, look how bad it was going. At least it's not backsliding. If I use the weight loss analogy, what I used to tell people is, hey, you didn't put on any weight. You used to be gaining, let's say, a pound a month, which is 10 pounds a year. Now we're not gaining. You might be holding ground or slowly in reverse, but I think you got to look at the powers that be. I think we give too much credit to these politicians' level of power.
I mean, I think the whole Palantir thing is an issue.
I agree.
And it would utilize AI in order to do this surveillance, this mass surveillance on Americans. And let's not forget about the fact that the so-called Big Beautiful Bill includes that provision that prevents states from regulating artificial intelligence.
That's
And every time we
it.
look at AI, we recognize that it's starting to lie to its creators. It lies to regular users. It's an amazing tool, but to have our lives ran by it is really scary.
It is.
Thank you so much for watching Her Take. If you like the show, can you help us out by subscribing to the channel, clicking the notification button, sharing, commenting, joining the conversation? It helps us out a ton with the algorithm. We appreciate you.